everybody, and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. I'm your host, Taylor Rockwell. Daryl Grove is actually with me in studio right now. He's just shown up. He's drinking water. He didn't know he'd be on mic, but Daryl Grove's here.
Am I supposed to be involved?
No.
Hello.
Today I'm going to be talking.
Back to my water.
Yeah. Today I'm going to be talking to Caitlyn Murray about the U.S. Women's National Team and the World Cup final against the Netherlands. Daryl, thoughts? Okay, anyway, so Caitlyn and I are getting into how long Caitlyn has been in France. It's been a difficult time in the sense that she's been away for like a month. Being on the road, living out of a suitcase can be challenging, but when you're covering the Women's World Cup and the U.S. National Team, it can be very fun. Right, Daryl? So anyway...
Can I speak to your manager?
That's what you get for sitting in front of the mic when I do the introduction. But we also get into sort of some lineup conundrums maybe Jill Ellis will be facing, some fitness issues, or maybe lack thereof in the U.S.'s case, which is always a positive thing. And then just overall Caitlyn's impressions on what she's expecting from the World Cup final and beyond. So with all of that said, I will turn it over to me talking to Caitlyn Murray, unless Daryl has anything else to add.
No.
Daryl says no. So here's me talking to Caitlyn. With me now, I've got Caitlyn Murray. He's been covering the World Cup for The Guardian. Caitlyn, thank you very much for taking the time to come back on the show.
Of course, anytime.
Well, we do appreciate it. I know you've been in France for like almost a month now. I'm assuming you've reached the point where you're ready to be home. Is that about right?
Yeah, I mean, France is a beautiful country. It's been a fun adventure going to all these different cities, following the team, being part of this tournament, which has turned out to be really exciting. But I would like to go somewhere where I can read the menus. As a vegetarian in France, they don't really cater to that at all.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. And I miss Portland. I miss being in the same time zone as everybody. So, and I miss having like clean clothes and not living out of a suitcase. But I'm not complaining. It's very fun. We're sort of at the finish line. And I'm really excited for the final.
I imagine that must be like almost like emotionally draining, that like, because I have never covered a tournament for that long, certainly not on the ground for that long, but I have traveled for a good bit of time. And it reaches that point where it's like, I know I should be really, really enjoying this. And it's like a once in a lifetime opportunity, but I'm ready to like sleep in my own bed. I get that feeling. So I also imagine from what it sounds like, the temperature hasn't necessarily made it that much easier to exist in France.
Yes. No, I think it was 100 degrees today. And I even, I'm all the way out here, like getting to Europe from the West Coast is quite the trek. So I was like, I'm out here. Maybe I should just like go to Germany or go somewhere else, sort of add a few days to this trip. But if it's going to be 100 degrees, I do not want to do that. I just want to get back to Portland and get in my air conditioning, which air conditioning not as common in Europe. So, I think that having these games has sort of helped it fly by because you're always looking ahead to the next game. You always have a game and you're always moving cities. So you kind of don't realize how long you've been here and how long you haven't washed your clothes and all those sorts of things. So, now that we have the final to look forward to, I think it kind of makes it a little easier because now I can just look ahead to Sunday. I'm excited about that. I'm not really thinking like, I got to wait a few more days to go home. Now I'm just kind of thinking, okay, the final Sunday, this is going to be a really big day.
There we are. Well, I do want to talk about the final, but first, I wanted to talk about Alex Morgan, as does everyone, apparently. We love the Alex Morgan celebration. I think the fact that it's even being covered as somewhat controversial is a bit stupid, because to me, it was a shot at the English press. But now, like, I listened to The Guardian today, the Football Weekly today, and they were talking about how, like, it was a shot at all of England or a shot at the English national team. So where are you on the celebration? Not even necessarily was it controversial, because I'm assuming you don't think it was, but more so, who did you think it was aimed at, or from what you've heard, who was it aimed at?
Yes. So in the moment during the game, when I saw it, I was wondering if it was a reference to like English tea or something, because obviously people in England love to drink tea. Then in the mix zone afterward, she was asked about it, and she sort of laughed that people were even asked about it. She said, Rapinoe, or, Pinot, she said, Pinot celebrates all the time and does all these crazy celebrations, and you guys don't ask. I do one, and everyone's freaking out about it. She didn't really answer the question, but then in the press conference right after that, she said, we haven't taken the easy road to the final. We have, we didn't take the easy road, essentially, is what she said. And that's the tea, is how she ended her comment. That's the tea. And So
All right.
that's what she said again today. Today, again, she was asked and she said, that's the tea is just an expression. Like, that's the gossip. That's the story. That's what's going on. You know, people use the expression spilling tea, that sort of thing. So that's what she said. I will say in the press or in the mix zone when, you know, she was asked about it, I did I did yell out, you know, Alex, was that English tea? She did not hear my question, so I never got an answer as to what kind of tea. Maybe it was Earl Grey, maybe it was chai tea, and everyone's just, you know, freaking out for no reason. Like, we don't know what kind of tea it was. I don't think she heard me. There were like 20 other people yelling questions at her, but you know, I did try for the sake of journalism.
I appreciate
to find out.
For the sake of journalism, I appreciate that. Could have been an espresso. We don't know. We don't know these things, but
yeah,
but I appreciate you at least trying to get to the bottom of that one. I appreciate you also bringing up Megan Rapinoe because that's another one I wanted to talk about in the lead up to this game. She missed the England game with a mild hamstring issue, or at least that's what the narrative was. I'm believing it. She missed that one. Rose Lavelle had to sub off. Clearly said she had a hamstring issue. So what's the latest on their respective fitnesses?
Yeah, so Rose Lavelle was made available today, and she said she's fine. It was just sort of a minor thing, precautionary. She expects that she's going to be fine. We spoke to Megan Rapinoe 2 days ago. She said that she expects she'll be fine as well. She said it was something minor and just sort of every day it's gotten better, and she expects to be 100% for the game on Sunday.
All right. That's good news. Were you surprised when you saw the lineup against England and Megan Rapinoe wasn't there? Is that something that maybe there had been some inclination that was coming, or was it a complete surprise?
It was a complete surprise and a complete mystery that everyone was freaking out about because when something like that happens, the first thing, you know, the press corps does is, you know, reach out to U.S. Soccer, say, you know, is she injured? What's going on? That answer never really came. There was only confirmation that it was not disciplinary, which I don't even think anyone was considering. Sorry to President Trump. I don't think anyone considered that possibility. And so we didn't know if she was injured or not. And there were just so many theories, conspiracy theories. Is she injured? You know, is she not? Why is she even on the bench as a substitute? If she is injured, people saw her with tape on her hamstring. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's tactical. Megan Rapinoe did not have a very good game against Spain. That right back did a really good job containing her. So if Phil Neville is to be believed and Lucy Bronze is the best right back in the world, maybe you don't want Megan Rapinoe up against her. Maybe you'd rather have Kristen Press and her acceleration and her speed. So there were all these sorts of narratives in discussion. And then it was funny. Megan Rapinoe comes through the mix zone after the game and she's asked about it. And she just sort of casually says, oh, they didn't tell you? It's just a minor hamstring issue. It was nothing. She was like, oh, they didn't tell you? And it's like, no, they didn't tell us. The internet has been freaking out.
Yep.
So yeah, it was surprising, but I think it was just, you know, a precautionary thing and she'll be fine.
Yeah, and then if people miss this, I'm guessing you are already well aware, but for people who may have missed, I saw Doug McIntyre tweet out that I guess the reason she was on the bench, Rapinoe was on the bench, is in case she needed to take a penalty, but then they wanted to keep it secret in case that maybe gave something away. A lot of games, like a lot of strategy happening here from Jill Ellis. I kind of like it, I got to say.
Yeah, and I feel like that's been sort of something we're learning about Jill Ellis is that she'll do a lot of things that we don't understand and she's not going to tell us why, but there's clearly a reason because she has navigated this World Cup rather well, I would say, at this point.
Yeah.
Sorry,
go ahead.
Yeah, she said in the press conference that, you know, she wanted Pinot to be an option for a penalty kick if that came up. So, yeah.
So then, though, like, that leads, though, to the next question of, like you said, there was no indication Rapinoe wasn't going to play. It was a complete surprise. So then, with that in mind, it's kind of an unfair question, but, like, what other complete surprises do you think Jill Ellis might throw at us in the final? Or are you expecting it to be sort of the more standard 4-3-3 with, like, kind of the established personnel that we've seen already?
Yeah, I mean, it's the final. I think it would be weird to completely change things in the final. You know, you dance with the one that Barnya, or in this case, the 11 players and the style and the formation. And I mean, there have been tweaks game to game, and I don't think we've actually seen the same starting lineup more than twice in this World Cup. So, I mean, there's definitely been rotation. And I think it's possible we see a little bit of that again, but I think if you just look at the Netherlands, I think the U.S. is a better team than the Netherlands. So I don't think they need to freak out and try to change everything. I think if they just play their game, they're going to beat the Netherlands. And I'm sure that's a question you were going to get to. Spoiler alert, I think the U.S. is going to win on Sunday.
Yeah, it is a question I was going to get to because, like, I rarely am confident saying, like, this team is definitely going to win. It could be Manchester United could be playing an amateur team, and I would still say, like, well, you know, I mean, it might go. You never know. Like, and yet I do find myself thinking, like, I feel like the U.S. has this one. Kim McCauley had a great tweet where she was making the argument that, like, we're going to kind of like psych ourselves up. We're going to talk ourselves into the Netherlands being this amazing team. And then the U.S. is going to score 3 goals in the first 30 minutes. And I do kind of feel like that's the chance. So are you feeling similarly? Do you think that this is sort of, unless the United States makes some major mistakes? And again, I feel awkward asking this because it feels like hubris and arrogance. But do you think this is the United States' World Cup final?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Netherlands are not a bad team to sleep on by any means. I think if you look at their attacking line, they have, you know, other than the U.S., maybe the best sort of attacking line in the tournament, most potent attacking group. And I think they're really good on the counter. And if from a tactical standpoint, you're thinking about how the U.S. can be beaten, I do think it is in transition. I do think it is sort of using speed and getting them behind when the U.S. gets a little pushed up, a little too far up the field and attacking. So I think that the Netherlands does have the personnel to beat the U.S. in a tactical way. But I think, like I said, I think the U.S. is a better team. And if this does sort of fall apart for the U.S., I'm thinking someone got a red card at some point or, you know, Alyssa Nair, I think there was so much discussion about her going into this tournament. And I do think she had some nervy moments, but then against England, of course, she saves that penalty kick, which sort of erases all of that. But I do think, you know, maybe a goalkeeper error or something like that. Maybe that's the scenario where the Netherlands wins. I think that the U.S. is a better team. And so if those sorts of things don't happen, if the U.S. doesn't screw up, if there's not red cards, if there's not mistakes, I just have a hard time believing that the U.S. isn't going to be able to pull out a victory.
Much more still to come from a slightly homesick Caitlyn Murray. But before we get to that, we should probably talk about today's sponsor. And to do that, I say we because I have a we in studio. It's me and Daryl. Hello, Daryl.
Yeah, it's we Daryl.
It's we Daryl.
From Wee Britain.
You're a little tiny baby, Daryl. I've shrunk you down. First, I stole you from chemo. Now I've shrunk you to tiny levels.
And so people know no chemo right now.
But you are shrunken.
But I am shrunken.
Yes.
I am tiny. Somehow my voice maintains its full bass.
It's slightly disconcerting.
Haven't gone squeaky.
Yeah, it's like an animated movie where the tiny baby character talks at full volume.
Yeah.
Daryl is standing on the desk holding his microphone. That's how short he is.
So that SNL sketch with the baby boss.
There we go. Exactly. But Daryl is here to help me talk about today's sponsor, HelloFresh.
HelloFresh.
Yeah, I like to greet it that way. HelloFresh is the meal kit delivery service that shops, plans, and delivers step-by-step recipes and pre-measured ingredients so you can just cook, eat, and enjoy. Enjoy being the most important part.
And if you are ready to conquer the kitchen,
oh boy,
just like in the Revolutionary War, we conquered the airports. HelloFresh makes conquering the kitchen a reality with deliciously simple recipes. The look on your face says you haven't been paying attention to the news. I will explain that to you off air.
I remember now. Yes. Okay. Oh, we live in a nightmare. HelloFresh.
But at least we can eat well.
Yeah. Yes, that is great. And you can eat well, but also cook simply.
Yep.
They deliver fresh, pre-measured ingredients with easy-to-follow 6-step pictured recipe cards delivered to your door each week in special insulated boxes.
I feel like I've thrown you with that reference.
Oh, I've been happy in my little Total Soccer Show office bubble today, and I haven't gone outside, so I don't have to deal with humanity. And then you brought it all crashing back. Thanks, Daryl.
Well, much like reading from a teleprompter, all of the meals come together in 30 minutes max, call for less than 2 pots and pans, and you get the recipe card. So you can just read the step-by-step instructions, and as long as you don't go off script and trust your own knowledge of history or food, you absolutely cannot go wrong. The recipe cards will see you through because there's the right amount of ingredients and there's the correct steps, and then you get the food at the end.
And if you're a person who, say, doesn't like reading detailed instructions but prefer bullet point memos, then you also are covered here because, as I said,
a lot of pictures.
Very simple instructions with a lot of pictures, and that makes it easy to cook and keeps your attention.
There are 3 plans to choose from: the classic, the veggie, and the family, and you have the option to switch between those when your tastes change. Or, one day you can say one thing, one day you can say something completely different, and no one will bat an eyelid. It will just feel normal after a while.
Oh, boy. All right. And for $80 off your first month of HelloFresh, go to HelloFresh.com/TSS80 and enter the code TSS80.
There is a horse in a hospital. TotalSockShow.com/TSS80 and use the promo code TSS80. Yeah. All right.
As I said, we will be getting back to the conversation with Caitlyn Murray. She and I are about to kind of get more into what the United States might do against the Netherlands, but we've just finished. Daryl hasn't heard the interview. Talking a bit about how we're both slightly uncomfortable talking about the United States as they should win this game.
Yeah.
And it's sort of being the case. Are you in that mindset, too, that it feels like this is a game they should win?
I am, but pride comes before a fall, right?
Exactly.
So
that's what it keeps going back to.
Yeah. I believe it, but I also don't want to believe it because I don't want to be the person that is adding to the pride before the fall.
Exactly.
So one thing we should do maybe with this little segment that we're together is talk about the threats of the Netherlands. Because I'm guessing, I'm going to guess Caitlyn Murray has been very tight with the US women's national team. She obviously knows a lot more about the women's national team than I do.
Yeah.
But about the US, sorry. I would guess we've seen more of the Netherlands because we've done that crazy thing where we sit in the office and watch all the games.
Yes.
Every single game and pay nerdy attention to detail to various tactics.
I cannot remember if we've already done this in the episode or we're about to do this in the episode, so I kind of go on at length at a certain point in here about Miedema, the number 9 striker for the Netherlands. So maybe let's not mention her, and we'll save that for future me. But let's talk more. But I think I also do say in the show there's a player that you very much like, let's talk about her.
To me, the main threat and the player that makes this Netherlands team tick, attacking and defending, is Danielle van der Donk.
Yep.
Van der Donk is the smartest person in the room all the time. You know what I'm saying?
All the time.
Yeah, the smartest person in the room.
All right.
She's like Mark Zuckerberg in The Social Network when he sits down with all the lawyers and he just has that sense about him. If you watch Van der Donk, she is the one that finds the space and makes things happen. That goal they eventually scored against Sweden, Van der Donk is the one that made it happen, right? By finding the space and then making the pass for the Miedema layoff.
You said nice things about Mark Zuckerberg, and I'm genuinely still kind of reeling.
Oh, you can be smart and still be a terrible person.
Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, now I'm back in.
From what I can tell, Van der Donk is both smart and good at soccer.
And not a terrible person?
Seems like a nice person.
Unless she hands the United States a loss on Sunday.
She's the absolute
she's a bad
worst.
person.
She's the absolute worst. Okay, so Van der Donk, you've really got to watch her movement, right? She will not just sit behind the striker. She will drift left. She will drift right. She will go far. She will come short. She will find the space and get the ball. There's almost an argument that we should man-to-man mark her, like put Julie Ertz on her, but I don't see Jill Ellis doing that kind of thing. I see the US doing more of a pass her around, everybody talk to each other, make sure somebody's got her all the time kind of thing.
I
number 10, by the way, Van der Donk, if you're just looking at the screen, number 10, obviously.
I don't think we need to man-to-man mark with Julie Ertz because, and forgive me because I forget who did the graphic, but the explanation of England's kind of touches on the ball, if you look at it, there's a pretty much giant gap in the middle of the field, which is where Julie Ertz usually sits.
It's where she eats.
Yes, so I think she made...
It's where she gets that bread.
Exactly, and makes that bread. Because she wins the ball, she puts in defensive plays in a more, especially against England, in a more controlled way than I think I am used to.
Yeah.
Because that was one of my concerns heading into the France game, I believe, is her sort of going into tackles full speed, going after people full speed can be good, can also be bad.
Against France, she did it and won it.
Yeah, and against England, the same. Yeah. So I think I kind of trust in Julie Ertz at this point, knocking on wood again, to kind of handle that without having to man mark Van der Donk, but we'll see if that changes in the game. Okay,
and then we've also got to be wary of the other two midfielders. There's a lot of focus on Van der Donk, but Groningen is the player that scored the goal against Sweden. Spitzer is really good on their set pieces, so don't sleep on Groningen and Spitzer. If you don't want to talk about Miedema, striker, because you'll talk about her later, I think we should talk about the wingers.
Okay.
It's really interesting because coming into the tournament, this was a strength of the Netherlands. Most teams have sat back and sort of made it hard for the wingers to go past anybody. And we go into the final with Van der Sanden being sort of dropped from the starting 11 in the semi-final, right? Berenstein started. Yep. And then Lieke Martens, maybe their best player alongside Van der Donk and Miedema. Lieke Martens, the player that's in that Nike ad, right? She's the one that takes the mascot by the hand and drags her around the field, which I don't think was legal, but it was a good ad.
12 players on the field. I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, exactly, right? she has a possible foot injury, right? Is it a toe injury?
That's what she carried into the tournament, and then that's why I believe she was substituted at halftime.
Yeah, my guess is, assuming she can move, she will either take a painkilling injection or she will just grin and bear it because it's a World Cup final.
It's like we learned nothing from Varsity Blues. Painkilling injections, not the best way to go.
No, it won't be. I don't think it'll be a good idea long term if she does a painkilling injection, but she will be, I assume, determined to play in the World Cup final because how many chances do you get?
It's true. You're right. And so I think she probably will be there no matter what, but that no matter what is sort of important because if it's Lika Martens at 90% playing through 50% pain, she's probably not quite as effective as maybe we've seen at other points in this competition.
15% concentrated power of will.
Wow.
But we should be wary because the US fullbacks love to get forward, right? O'Hara loves to get forward. Crystal Dunn lives to get forward. We can't leave space in behind for Berenstein / Van der Sanden to exploit and Martins / someone without a bad toe to exploit. Is it Roord? Maybe is the player that would come in. We can't leave that wide open. I don't think. There's an idea that the US always just goes in being, we're the better team, we're going to dominate the ball, we're going to take our game to you. We could live to regret that because no one's given the Netherlands space before. We might be the first team to give them space, and we might be in for a horrible surprise if we do so.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here is my question, though, because I think even if the United States does kind of like worry about that defensively, they do maybe keep Crystal Dunn and Kelly O'Hara a little bit deeper, make sure they track back. I think they can handle that. My question, strangely, is like if the United States gets up a goal, as they have done in this competition routinely.
Yeah, in the first 5 minutes.
And I think this was on, like, I've heard a couple different people make this point now. It seems as though they tend to go defensive after that it's almost a like, okay, well, we're ahead, now we're just going to see this game out. And I don't quite understand why they don't try to kill the game off more completely earlier on or keep trying to kill the game off even when they're up 2-0. It feels like they go into a more defensive long ball approach. Joe Lowry wrote about this for The Athletic. I know you talked to him today. That'll be out later on as well.
Yeah, the big Gold Cup final preview with Joe Lowry. Yeah.
But when he was talking about the U.S. women against England, that was one of his points, is that like after they scored that first goal and did kind of bypass England's press, they went very direct to Alex Morgan every single time. Yeah. And that's something I would like to see them do less of against the Netherlands. Even if it's a little risky, I'd rather them try to play out of the back.
But what if Netherlands send people forward and play high and just give us that space to exploit? It's not as pretty, it's not as nice to watch, but putting balls in behind from Morgan and Rapinoe / press.
Rapinoe's fine.
And Heath to run onto. If it's effective, why not go for it?
Yeah, I think, okay, I take your point, and you're right. And I'm not going to be too angry one way or the other. It is strange to me that like I felt like England were a worse team than France, not a bad team, but not as good of a team. And yet it still was an unless and or save away from having to go to extra time and potentially penalties, and things could have been very different. France, it ends up being a closer game because Wendy Renard pulls that one goal back. Yeah. And it just seems like for all the times in Spain, the same. So for all the time that it seems like the United States should have easily won, in every single knockout round game so far, it has ended with us being very stressed out at the end.
Yeah. And watching the US in a 5-4-1, crossing our fingers that O'Hara handball's not given, and so on.
Yeah. And I know this is a very not that difficult of a prospect of like, oh, I'm sorry, it's nervous in the final 15 minutes of the knockout round when you keep advancing. Like, I get that. Yeah. But I would
Argentina and Scotland wish they had that problem.
They do. But I would be much happier to see the United States pull a USA-Japan in 2015 and sort of come out storming and really kill the game off.
Even after 15 minutes.
Even if there's no drama, I just don't want to spend half an hour being like, please. Oh no. Yeah, so that's where I am with this one.
Okay, that makes sense to me. One final threat I would like to point out for the Dutch is Bloodworth's passing.
Bloodworth, who's married to an American?
Yeah, you may have heard.
Yeah. So remember, keep an ear out for that one. That's on your World Cup final bingo card.
We should make that. Her passing out of the back is Dalkamper-esque, which is the biggest compliment I can give. She can hit those big diagonals, and that's the threat for like those balls into Martens or Berenstein or Van der Sanden. Those balls will be dangerous. Also, just quick passes along the floor in terms of breaking the lines. She might be the one, Bloodworth, number 20, centre-back, who finds Danielle van der Donk like 2/3 of the way up the field with one really smart pass that breaks the line. So keep an eye on number 20's passing and maybe get Alex Morgan in her face.
I agree with everything you said. I have been then compiling all the other spaces for a World Cup final bingo card, including something about being the Dutch being just so fast. That's got to be in there. JP De La Camera calling any player you want by their first name. You could do like 5 or 6 of those squares.
On second reference, right? He often goes, Morgan with the ball. Alex still has it.
Yes, yes.
Which if you've never seen the game before, you'd be like, "What? Is it two different players? What are we talking about?"
It is a little strange. He does Alex. He does Megan for Rapinoe.
Yeah.
I think he does Tobin for Heath.
Yeah.
There's one more in there that I feel like he does pretty regularly, but I can't remember who it is.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something we're going to have to do this now. World Cup final bingo card. A reference to how many finals the Netherlands has lost, including men's and women's.
Okay.
How total World Cup final defeats for the Netherlands, right?
Is it too easy to say reigning World Cup champions versus European champions?
That's going to be in there.
That seems like it'll be in there,
that
right?
will be maybe right before kickoff.
Okay.
As a final, whoa, this is a big deal kind of thing.
Yes. What else could there be?
Now you put me on the spot.
Should there be?
The top scorer chase.
Oh yes,
the number of goals that Alex Morgan has and Megan Rapinoe have.
That makes sense. What about a cut to Hope Solo? Do we think that's in there? Should we put that on the bingo card?
Yes,
okay.
Because that's not Fox's decision, but that will be a World Feed decision,
yes.
and they will definitely find her in the crowd. Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Possibly after Naya makes a mistake or a save. We'll see. Hope so. Let's be real specific and say it will go from Naya to Solo.
Yes. All right. And then final one. Do we go FIFA officials pictured in the crowd, or do we go celebrities? Because I feel like they always try to find one celebrity at a major event.
Yeah.
But they might just go like Infantino with the two presidents with him.
Let's stick them both on.
Okay.
Yeah, Infantino with the two presidents, and then sort of random celebrities who are in Lyon for the final.
I do not know how many squares we've just given you, but I feel like that was plenty.
Yeah. Okay. Which random celebrity do you expect to see? Because Beckham was there for England, but there's no reason for him to be there for the US versus the Netherlands. Mick Jagger, will he just randomly show
small Dutch boy with clogs?
Is that Dutch boy with clogs?
Is that allowed? Yeah. Can that be my answer?
That's too generic.
I don't know, because it's tough though. Because Beckham was there, but Beckham was there for England. Yep. I struggle to think of the major Dutch celebrity who could be in attendance.
Virgil van Dijk.
Okay. You think Virgil van Dijk's there?
Virgil van Dijk. We spot Virgil van Dijk in the crowd.
That would be nice.
Any current Dutch men's national team player.
Let's flip this one around, because that's possible.
Yeah.
What about...
Van Persie just retired. He's got free time.
All right. But is he... Yeah, he's famous enough.
I mean...
I
know who he is.
I want there to be like an Oprah. I think we need Oprah in the crowd. I want Oprah in the crowd.
Also, an American celebrity who would go over there and would have the financial means to get a ticket no matter what and shrug off the cost.
Yes.
Oprah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Oprah could potentially start for one of these two teams if she really wanted to. she has that amount of power.
She has the influence. I think that's a great shout. Right. I think Oprah is the way to go.
If not, then I feel like we get, and I'm going to include a halftime cut to an Oprah tweet, because I think that's also fair.
Any chance the current administration sends the VP? Sometimes they do that. I'm going to take that as a no.
That's a no. That's a no.
Mitch McConnell.
Oh, but you know what? That is another bingo square. Some sort of reference to Megan Rapinoe and the President of the United States.
Yes, of course. Okay. I think we have all the bingo squares.
I think we've got them all. But before we get back to my conversation with Caitlyn Murray, talking about maybe more topical things when it comes to the USA-Netherlands World Cup final, we should talk about our other sponsor for today, Dollar Shave Club.
Dollar Shave Club. Thank you to Dollar Shave Club. They just sent us a box.
They did.
One each, right? Did you get one as well?
I left you the box. I took my materials that I was sent out of the box so that you could have the handy box to transport. Since I'm assuming, are you on your bicycle?
I am not on my velocipede today. I got actually, my bike's in the shop. It's ready to be picked up.
It's still ready to be picked up? Oh, that's right.
It was closed for July.
By the way, this is how much time Daryl and I spend in studio now that I know the limitations of when Daryl can and cannot pick up his bicycle. That's the sort of week it's been for us.
I mean, anyone could have guessed July 4th is the day you can't pick up your bicycle.
But I do know that you called them on the afternoon of July 3rd to figure out a possible time. This is so boring.
Do you know what? They said July 5th I'll be there from 12 till 1. Give me a call. Called them several times between the hours of 12 and 1. No one picked up.
And you know what? That's why you can't trust stores, Daryl. That's why you can't trust physical brick-and-mortar locations.
So you should shop online, maybe?
Exactly. You should shop online. But even then, I
can't believe you've rescued this whole ad segment.
You want to know that you can get everything you need in one place, and that's why you need Dollar Shave Club, because they have all the things you need to look and feel pretty, in the face area specifically.
In the face area.
Yes.
And much like Brad Pitt, I want to know what's in the box. So I opened up the box.
Slightly less distressing than his box.
It's way less distressing.
It is.
There's the prep scrub. It's the first thing I grabbed. It's the thing I love the most.
Me too.
The prep scrub. Do you know what? Have you ever read out the full title of it? Are you ready?
I am.
Dr. Carver's mandatory prep scrub.
Mandatory prep scrub. All right.
Properly prepare for shave greatness with the prep scrub.
Do we think Dr. Carter is actually a Dr. Carter?
Dr.
Carver, yeah. Is Dr. Carver a doctor?
I think Dr. Carver may be
of shave science?
A branding exercise, much like Ronald McDonald.
All right, that's fair. What about Dr. Carver's Easy Shave Butter? Do you have any of that?
I have it in my hands right now for effortless, delightful shaving. And I will say, I love the branding. Yep. I love the look of this stuff, but it is also... It's high quality stuff. That's the really important thing. It's not just like branding and inside it's like something you don't want to see. This is good stuff inside all these tubes.
It is. You're not wrong though. The branding is nice, and like the packaging as well, because it does feel a little bit like when you put it all together in the bathroom, you do have that moment of like, it looks like a fancy spa going on here. Right? I enjoy this. Yes, even in my small bathroom in our small house, you still have the. It looks like the fancy upstairs spa.
Does it make you feel like you have that Oprah money and you could just buy Woke Up Final tickets whenever you wanted?
I would love to feel like I have that Oprah money.
You'd have to get the full set of all the Dollar Shave Club stuff to feel like you have the Oprah money.
You would, but we now, Daryl Grove, can consider ourselves like fully Dollar Shave Club, because in there I believe you'll find a razor and razor blades.
Oh yes, hello. Hello, razor and razor blades.
You can finally shave. Daryl has not used a razor since Dollar Shave Club became a sponsor. He's been waiting for a razor. He looks incredibly homeless, but now...
Hey! I'm a few days behind on my shaving
But now you
schedule.
can finally shave. You're not going with the fake narrative I'm creating, as though you've been holding off shaving and have like a 6-foot-long beard at this point.
That's
what I was going
That's
for.
what you're picturing, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, we'll let people think that.
Between the two of us, Daryl, do you really think that I would be throwing stones about one of us looking slightly shaggy and homeless?
Well, your beard is full but maintained, right? Mine is more like in the wild.
Yeah, in the wild.
Au naturel sometimes. Accidentally au naturel.
All right. So if you want to try any of the products we've mentioned, there's also some toothpaste in there and the best toothbrush in the world.
Oh, yes, I got another one of these. Actually, I'm really happy.
Me too. Yeah. I love the Prep Scrub, but I was like, ooh, another toothbrush. I don't have to worry about finding another one.
Yep.
Because they've given me more.
Yep.
Right now, you can put the quality of Dollar Shave Club's products to the test. Their ultimate starter sets have basically everything you need for an amazing shower, close shave, or clean teeth. The best part is you can try each one for just $5. After that, the restock box ships regular-sized products at regular prices.
Get your ultimate starter set for just $5 at dollarshaveclub.com/TSS. That's dollarshaveclub.com/TSS. And Taylor, I believe you will be putting the link in the show notes, especially now I've said you have to do it.
I believe you are correct. I also believe that we have done enough semi-coherent rambling. So I think it's probably now time to turn it back to a person who's far more informed and eloquent than we.
So I'm out. Caitlin's in?
Caitlin's in.
All right.
If the United States goes with the standard 4-3-3, it's roughly the same personnel we've seen, then the question comes back to, is it Sam Ewis, is it Lindsey Horan as the kind of third midfielder? If Rose Lavelle can go, you expect her to be in there, you expect Julie Ertz. So not even necessarily which of those two helps the United States more in dealing with transition, but like from a more general perspective, I think because I like Lindsey Horan so much, I'm just inclined to say like she should start, she's the best, I want her in there. But like what for those, myself included, I guess, who aren't as familiar, like what would you say are the kind of best things that Sam Ewis brings and the best things that Lindsey Horan brings to this team?
Well, I think Samantha Mewis, first of all, is the tallest field player the U.S. has ever had. So, a height advantage, especially on set pieces, even though, she's not really necessarily known for scoring with her head. I think that is an advantage. Sam Mewis is the player who takes the most shots from distance other than Megan Rapinoe on the team. And I think when Samantha Mewis does that, I think it forces back lines and midfield to sort of be honest and kind of think about their positioning and making sure, they're left with a choice. Do we press Sam Mewis to make sure she doesn't get those shots off and risk leaving that space in behind? Or do we sort of sit back and let her take those shots? I think that forces teams to kind of play a different way. Lindsey Horan has just incredible vision with her passing, and I think she's just impactful in all the different phases of the game, whether it's defensively, whether it's possession, moving the ball, shooting. I mean, whatever it is, there's a reason that for the Portland Thorns, Mark Parsons, the coach of the Thorns, has made a very deliberate choice to sort of have everything flow through Lindsey Horan. She has this free role where he just wants her to find the game and impact it. And she was the MVP in the NWSL last season for a reason, because she was able to get really involved and she is a really good player. So I think it's an interesting debate when you talk about Samantha Mewis versus Lindsey Horan, because I actually thought Rose Lavelle didn't have a great game in the quarterfinal against France.
Yeah,
so in
I'd
my
agree.
mind, I was thinking maybe replace Lavelle with Horan. Then you can get Mewis and Horan on the field at the same time. But then I thought Lavelle had a great game against England
agree with that,
in the semifinal. So, that shows how much I know for thinking that, that should have been something that Jill Ellis should have done. Mm-hmm. So I sort of feel like the U.S. has so many good options that, not to take anything away from these individual players, but whoever they choose, I think they're going to be just fine. I mean, the level of talent that they have is so good that I don't know if it's a decision that matters that much in the end.
That's fair. But so flipping it around then, for the Dutch, is there one player that you are slightly more nervous about or makes you more nervous than any other on that team?
Well, I mean, yeah, they have Leaky Martins. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right.
Sounds right
I don't know. Obviously, she's an incredible player of the year. I mean, you've probably watched the Dutch team more than I have throughout this tournament, just because
you've been traveling and trying to find air conditioning.
Yeah, I try to watch as many games as I can, but when I'm in a hotel with terrible Wi-Fi, which unfortunately has happened many times, I can't really stream the games. So actually, I would flip it around to you. Like, who should the U.S. be worried about?
Yeah, I think Van de Donk is the one that Daryl is most concerned about. I think he really appreciates what she kind of brings to the middle, both in terms of winning the ball back, but then finding passing options and finding open players that didn't necessarily seem open when she first received the ball. And then Viviana Miedema, I think it is, up top. That's the other one that we hesitate to compare women's players to men's and vice versa, but she keeps reminding me of Dimitar Berbatov in this very I'm very calm, very collected. It's really difficult to rattle her, it seems like, and yet she keeps popping up and finding space and finding shooting opportunities. And that seems like a thing that Ellen White did really effectively against the United States. So Miedema seems like the type of player who will be able to find those same little gaps between Sauerbrunn and Dahlkemper if they're the starters, or will be able to win, or put herself in advantageous positions to win headers over Kelly O'Hara. So she's the one that I am slightly nervous about. But again, I go back to, I feel like if the U.S. kind of plays their game, does things properly, they should be able to get the result. That's my hope. But I also then know that it's Jill Ellis's job to sort of not let the United States look past this game, get too excited about the final. So has there been much talk about how Jill Ellis has gone about keeping the players grounded and keeping the players prepared for the World Cup final?
Well, the team has definitely been staying in their bubble. They talk about that a lot. And from what I've heard, that's really something that is set by Jill Ellis. She doesn't really want the players to be distracted. They aren't really doing that much media. In 2015, when they made the World Cup final, U.S. Soccer hosted a big media day where, if I'm remembering correctly, every single player on the team was made available. It was in this giant conference room at the Sheraton in downtown Vancouver, and all the players were there at different tables, and reporters could go up and talk to them. There were TV setups and every player went through them. That is not happening this time around. We got 4 players today at the media availability. That is the most we've gotten the entire tournament.
Wow.
Usually we've just gotten 2 players per day, and that's it. And I know that some outlets and some journalists that, in World Cup past maybe got one-on-ones with players are not getting that this time around. I think there's really been a effort to sort of make sure that the players are not distracted and are not doing too much other than focusing on this World Cup and being ready for it. So I think that's really been sort of the strategy the whole time, and it doesn't really seem like it's changing. The team wants to avoid doing too much media, wants to avoid too many distractions. Sometimes when the players are asked about things, they say they haven't really seen it. And I think I buy that they probably haven't been paying as much attention to some of the stuff as we all have.
That makes sense to me. Who are the 4 who were made available, if you don't mind me asking?
It was Alex Morgan, Kelly O'Hara, Rose Lavelle, and Lindsey Horan.
All right. So do we feel like we can draw anything from that maybe those 4 will definitely be involved on Sunday?
Not at all. Because not at all.
Perfect.
No. Because actually it was funny. For one of the pregame press conferences, I think it was the final group stage match, Kristen Press was the designated player for that press conference. And I was talking to a guy from the BBC, and he was confused. He said, why didn't Kristen Press start? She came out in the press conference. And I said, that means absolutely nothing.
See, I was one of those too.
Yeah, they don't give any hints or anything like that. Like the reason Kristen Press was chosen was because she played in Sweden. I think it has nothing to do with who's going to play.
Oh, yeah. See, I definitely thought it was a rule that like if you were involved in the press conference that meant you had to be involved in the match day, but evidently not. So good to know. I've learned yet another thing from you, Caitlyn. Thank you for that.
Well, I'm trying to remember. Did Kristen Press come on as a sub against Sweden? I don't know, but I feel like that would be a slippery slope if FIFA was selling coaches. You have to play certain players. I don't think they would do that. So
that's a fair point.
Yeah, I think it's just a random, selection of players. Throw us off the scent, maybe.
There you go. Well, then my final question, and it's the most important question, is did the United States end up moving into England's hotel after they knocked England out? They
sure did. And I have to say, I can see why they moved. I think their new hotel is a lot nicer. It seems like it used to be a church, maybe. It sort of looks like a chapel in the lobby, and there's like religious imagery and all the molding. But it's at the top of some like hill in Lyon. It has incredible views of the city. Very nice hotel. I see why the U.S. wanted to go there. Right. So.
And from what you've heard, were they able to get Phil Neville's teardrops out of the comforter, or was that not a major issue?
I'm sure they called ahead of time and made arrangements for that. Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Well, Caitlyn, thank you very much for all that you've done for the show. Thank you very much for all the coverage you've provided. And we look forward to reading your coverage after the World Cup final, hopefully a successful World Cup final. And then we look forward to you returning to Portland. But until then, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us today.
No problem. It has been fun. Thanks.